Hey everybody, it's Katie. Today I want to talk about birth plans. This is going to be especially exciting for you type A mamas out there, which I'm kind of type A in certain circumstances, but I want to talk about building a birth plan that will actually be looked at. I had a birth plan for both of my daughters and I found it to be really helpful and reassuring if no one else other than me, but that's what this is all about, right? When I started doing birthing classes, one of the things that they talked about was building a birth plan and why it was important. And at that point in time, I had decided that we were going to birth at a birthing center with midwives. And so I was thinking, well, why is that important? Because it's, I'm going to be with midwives and they're going to know because we're going to talk about it and all this stuff. But then I started to understand that as I started to think about building it, that the importance was also for me, which was to consider all my options. Because here's the thing. Yeah, I had my baby at a birth center. However, I ended up shortly after transferring to a hospital for some bleeding issues. If I had to transfer before having the baby and go to the hospital still pregnant, expecting that I was going to be delivering at the birth center and then going to the hospital, if I hadn't at least mentally prepared for that possibility, I feel like I probably would have felt vulnerable, a little bit out of control. I mean, not like you're in control anyway, but like kind of things are spiraling, and probably pretty upset because, when we're having a baby, it's such an intense situation that things like, sorry, we're going to have to transfer you to a hospital, or sorry, we're going to have to do an emergency C-section. Those are the kinds of things that can wreck your peace, your momentum, your emotional stability. So as I started to build the birth plan that I used, it helped me just in the sense of, okay, I'm birthing at a birth center, great. If that doesn't work out or if there's a problem, we will have a 5-minute transfer to the hospital. And that feels safe, like it's not very far away and we would be okay. When we get to the hospital, these are the things that we do and don't want, or these are our preferences. So we get to the hospital and they say we have to prep you for an emergency C-section. I don't think anybody wants to hear that. No mama who's laboring wants to be told that. But I also wanted to entertain that because I wanted to have thought that out. Like if they said, okay, Katie, this is what's happening, it would have sucked, but at least I would have been like, okay, Steve, here's our wishes. Like this is, in my mind, worst case scenario, emergency C-section. Okay, here's what I want to happen when we're doing this. And so it just kind of gave me a feeling of, some of you might say control. I say peace because knowledge is power. The more you know about, the possibilities of what could happen, so what you would need to adapt to, I feel like the more prepared you are to go into a certain situation. Most of you probably have a pretty good idea of what a birth plan consists of. As a little side note, I have mine here, and basically what Steve and I talked about was, and this is also stuff we talked about with our midwife, and so they were aware of what our desires were, but we wrote them down anyway, just in case. Also, in case we had to do a hospital transfer. But they're preferences. It's the way you would like your birth to go in a normal birthing situation. Obviously there are things that can happen that might detract from what you want, but I think that most women are able to go into it and say, okay, these are the things that I want. I wanted to labor and birth if possible in the water. I didn't want fetal monitoring. I didn't want to be checked 6 ways from Sunday. I wanted to be just kind of left alone. I wanted the lights dim. I didn't want any student midwives to be in there just because that didn't really feel very comfortable. Probably wouldn't have cared for my second birth if it had lasted long enough, but for my first birth, I was like, no thank you. Strangers? Nah, that's good. And so it was things like that I was able to put on the list. And if we had done a hospital transfer, then we had moved over to things like, if possible, I don't want to have a monitor attached to my body. I want to be able to walk around. I'd like to be able to have something, if I'm hungry, something to eat, or even juice instead of just ice chip or whatever. And I don't want any student doctors, interns, or whatever. I don't want any of that business. And then cord clamping, I want to wait until the blood stops pulsating through the cord before you clamp it. I don't want the eye ointment. I don't want shots. I want you to leave my baby alone. I want baby right on my chest at first. Get up out of my grill. Those are the kinds of things that I wanted on my list, and those are the kinds of things that you can add to yours as you're building yours. And then, obviously as my personal worst case scenario would be C-section. What do you want? Okay, well, obviously I don't want to see anything. I want the baby on my chest right away. I want you to wait to clamp the cord. I want to breastfeed as soon as possible. Like I kind of had a scenario in my mind, and so I put up my wishes for each different scenario. The birth plan that I have was actually from a website. You were able to customize it to what you wanted. It was from a website that's going to be down in the description below, but it's Mama Natural, and she's someone that I've followed actually for both of my pregnancies. She's definitely pretty crunchy, which I appreciate. There are certain things that she might do that I didn't do, but overall I'd say our mindset on birthing is probably pretty similar. So I found her customizable birth plan and I snatched that right up and customized it for myself. One of the things though that she mentions on her link with this customizable birth plan is one that the nurses won't scoff at. Very first saw that, I was like, scoff? Why would they scoff? Like, this is my tablet. This is my information. Why would you laugh? But as I've been pregnant a few times and know some nurses and just kind of been a mama for a little while, I've come to understand that I don't think that they're laughing at us because we have a plan necessarily. I think that it's kind of a matter of them laughing. Well, they might be laughing at us because we have a plan, because here's the thing, birth is going to happen no matter what you think you want. Birth is just going to do its own thing. But I think mostly what they're might be scoffing about is the rigidity of some people as they go into birth their child, not really knowing what to expect, and then having this expectation, here's my birth plan, follow it to the letter. Well, that's not always possible. So I feel like a lot of it is also just kind of the position of your heart as you go into it. Have a birth plan and say, this is, barring unforeseen circumstances, this is what we would like. Thank you for helping care for us. And so they know your preferences, but also know that you're willing to kind of just flow with labor because it does its own thing. As far as the whole scoffing thing, honestly, I feel like that's where it's important for you to do your homework on all the different scenarios. If you're going to go to the hospital and expect to do a vaginal delivery with no pain meds, okay, that's my expectation. But also have a plan that if that doesn't work, what's your plan then? Because then you don't want to turn into a basket case. And that's when I think that there's the mamas who maybe kind of freak out a little bit, and then the nurses are like, well, this birth plan didn't go according to her plan, and it's like, okay, well, let's not be so rigid, that there's a little, be fluid, understand that things are going to change. But anyway, back to the birth plan. This customizable birth plan with Mama Natural is a great option. I'm sure there's others. This is just the one that I used the last time, which was almost 2 years ago now. So I know there's other stuff out there. I know Earth Mama, formerly Earth Mama Angel Baby, I know they've got some good stuff online, and we'll put that in the description below as well. If you have liked this video, or if it has been helpful, please click like, and also if you would consider sharing it, that would be awesome. If there's any mamas that you know that are in the stage of potentially having a birth plan be useful for them, we would love that. And I'd also like to invite you to be a subscriber if you're not already. If you subscribe, you'll get an email every week that lets you know that we've put out a new video, and we do that, like I said, every week, and we'd love to have you join on our journey with us. And we have a Facebook, and we also have a blog, so we would love for you to check us out in one of those areas. And thanks again for watching and for being here, and hope that you guys enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next week. Bye!